Hey guys, Pastor Kyle here. I want to let you know we're going up to Acts chapter 17. This is our 10th week now in the Missio Dei series. We're going to look at Paul in the city of Athens. Very famous passage. For your groups, here are some of the questions. First, we have our engaged questions. Those questions go like this. What comes into your mind when you hear the word evangelism? Your first... who was your the first person that shared their Christian faith with you? What was the story behind that? So begin to get people thinking in regards to what is evangelism, what does it mean to share the faith, how they experienced it. Then we start to explore the text. So read through the text and then ask these questions. So Paul is walking around Athens, he's provoked, he sees all of this idolatry, he even sees an idol to an unknown God. As you survey your workplace, your school, your neighborhood, your city, what idolatry emotionally provokes you? What do you see people giving their life to, pouring themselves out for? And then Paul, he puts himself in places where he can have spiritual conversations. He goes into the marketplace, he begins to declare the gospel. How can we do the same? If God has put us in areas like workplaces and schools and neighborhoods, who are the relationships that we already have? What's God already doing? How can we have our eyes open and be intentional about where God has put us? Then Acts 17 verses 22 through 34, Paul begins to communicate the gospel. And what does it mean? He relates to the Athenians. He uses their own poets in describing the gospel. And so the big term is contextualizing. It is communicating the gospel in a way that people understand. And so how do we communicate the gospel to our neighbors, our family members, our co-workers in a way that they'll understand without changing the fundamental message? Here's a way that you guys can do that together as a group. Have you ever tried to vocalize what the gospel is? It's a message of good news, so how would you explain it? And then how would you explain it to a 3-year-old? How would you explain it to a 60-year-old professor or a 32-year-old auto mechanic? Every person, same message, same good news, different way of saying it though. So maybe try it out. Maybe just run through it. What does it look like to explain the good news of our faith to different people? Paul quotes from pagan poets to illustrate biblical truths. What poets in our society and our culture can we use to communicate biblical truths? Whether that's music, movies, authors, books, what can we use? What can we commandeer? What is maybe halfway pointing to Jesus that we can take and point full ways? What can we use? What can we redeem? What can we take from our culture and point to Jesus? Then application questions for you and your group. What have you observed to be the major worldview of your neighbors, your co-workers, your classmates, and your family? If we are to be missionaries, suburban missionaries in Clark County, well, what is it that we are ministering to? Who is it that we're ministering to? What is the predominant worldview? What are the functional idols that they worship? Paul walks around, he sees all of these idols in Athens. When we walk around, do we see the idols in Vancouver? What is it that people are pulling themselves out to, giving themselves for? And then in that, ask these questions. What will they give in the process of worshiping? And how do their idols show the true longings of the heart? So as we begin to say, okay, family, money, comfort, those are idols in Vancouver. So then what is it that we do to worship those idols? What are people willing to give up to have that thing that they think will make them the most happy? And then finally, what opportunities might God be giving you to contend for the faith in the lives of those around you? Love does, love speaks, love engages. And we see Paul loving the Athenians by presenting the gospel to them. So what opportunities do we have to love others well, to serve them, to speak to them, to share with them the good news in a way they will understand? So lots to think about, lots to contemplate, meditate, and discuss. I hope that this week is a blessing to you. I hope you guys are enjoying the beautiful summer weather, and we will see you on Sunday.